Coach, just wrapping up the North Texas game real quick. Can you talk about the self-inflicted wounds? Two turnovers in the red zone, I believe, when you're knocking on the door for points. You had your first possession. You were driving nicely, and the holding penalty set you back and kind of short-circuited that drive. It just seemed like, I mean, you moved the ball well enough to probably score 30 some points or more, don't you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was offensively, that was the story, the line of the game was the three turnovers, a turnover on downs, on deep in our own territory. We got inside the 25 three times and got 0 points. And that's something we've been really good at around here, is finishing once we get down in the red zone. So certainly feel like you left some points off the board. Defensively, some self-inflicted wounds there as well from an execution standpoint, from a poor tackling standpoint, from technique fundamentals. Really felt like we made some progress, the week before, but didn't feel like we played well on that side of the ball on Saturday. Certainly not good enough to win.
The rushing yards, you all have been pretty good stopping the run, over your time and being here since you took over as coordinator and PJ
Mhm.
as well. But 311 rushing yards, that's kind of alarming. And that guy was really rolling the tailback. And during the broadcast, they mentioned that you all lead the American in missed tackles. I think they said you were ranked 11th in the country, and there were more of those. But can you talk about the rushing yards you all allowed?
I don't think it was 300 wags. It was too much though. Certainly, it goes back to tackling, goes back to gap integrity, getting off blocks. There were some pressures that we didn't execute the right way, and it's been an issue, throughout the year, and it certainly reared its head on Saturday. So certainly not good enough. Some things we got to get cleaned up, and we got to be much better moving forward. And that's something we pride ourselves on around here is being able to stop the run. And we weren't able to do that on Saturday, and to their credit, it's a good football team. Our line was good, running back was good, but we certainly didn't help ourselves in a lot of different ways. So we got to get cleaned up, got to do better, and we'll have to do much better this week.
Well, I was to say on that note, when you talk about rushing yardage, this Notre Dame has the top rushing tandem in the country. These two guys, and
Yeah.
you know them well. They have both
Mhm.
run well against you in the past. Can you talk
Yeah.
about how critical it is to get back on track as far as stopping the run?
Yeah, well, if we can't do that against these guys, it's going to be a long day, and obviously it's going to be a huge challenge for us. I mean, they're big, physical up front. Like you said, probably the best running back duo in the country. When they're both really really good players. We got to do a great job of edging the football, a great job of tackling. We're going to play a phenomenal effort, chasing the football on Saturday. So it's obviously Wags. It's going to be a huge challenge for us.
Joe Miller.
Hey, Coach. Coming off the loss, what is the conversation with your team? Sort of, what do you want to have the mentality be headed into this week against Notre Dame?
Yeah. Well, it's like every week, whether you win or lose, there's stuff that you have to build on and work on to get better. And we've been fortunate enough to to get some wins um, and not play great. And there's I think every week that I've been on this deal, there's some things I was frustrated about, knew that we had to do better moving forward, and that doesn't change after a loss. Just a little bit harder to swallow, when you come in on Sunday and a Monday to watch it. But really feel like we didn't put our best foot forward on Saturday, and it's up to us and as a staff to figure that out, why that was the case, and we got to do a better job. We got to do a better job coaching them. We got to do a better job putting them in positions to be successful. And then the players got to take some ownership and do a better job of executing, of tackling, of defeating blocks, of having correct leverage with blocks. So I feel like we left a ton out there on Saturday. You know, you I'm okay if we get beat. I feel like we put our best foot forward, but we certainly that was not the case on Saturday. And they were the better team on Saturday. There's no doubt about that.
I was going to ask you about that. It's got to be a little bit more frustrating because we talked about sort of the big game nature of that game, and you guys didn't show what you have been in this situation so far this season with that success. But how do you try to turn this into a positive going into this week against Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, you got to flush it. It's 1-0, and you got to move on to the next one, but you've got to learn from the previous one. and build off of that and get better. And there's a lot for us to get better at. But you take the lessons learned from the game, and at the same time, the good news is we got a phenomenal opportunity in front of us. We got everything that we wanted to accomplish at the beginning of the season is still in front of us, and a great challenge and an opportunity to go play in one of the best teams in the country on the road, and no better opportunity to bounce back, after a frustrating, tough loss than that.
Wags asked you about the running game. When you look at CJ Carr and what they do passing wise, what are the couple of the keys for you guys against their passing game?
Yeah, well, they've got sort of North Texas, a lot of great team speed. They got some size out of wide out. Quarterback's a good player. You watched the game they had last week, and he got behind their DB several times. They can run. So we got to do a great job against the run. Obviously, that's where it starts. And if you can do that, right, and you can keep things in front of you, and make them earn everything that they get, not give up the big X plays in the pass game, that's really the only way you're gonna have a shot against these guys. But they're talented all the way across the board, on both sides of the football. It's a typical, Notre Dame team, and they're extremely well coached as well, and they play hard. They're fundamentally sound. I mean, they're a very, very well coached football team, a very talented team, and we know we're going to have to be, at our very best, just to have an opportunity to win the game.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Chris Daly with NBC and Notre Dame Student Radio.
Coach, pleasure to meet you. And thanks again, Scott, for having me here. Very happy to be here. But Coach, really curious for you as like the spokesperson of both, the program and the academy as a whole, how much this rivalry game against Notre Dame means for you. I know it dates all the way back to the 20s and then Notre Dame's and Navy's relationship in World War II and everything. So just talk about that and how much it means, especially in today's day and age of college football.
Yeah, it's a game that we love having on our schedule, play a storied program like Notre Dame, and just the history behind the meaning of this game, why we still play it. It's just a phenomenal thing to be a part of. Obviously, it's our kids get fired up to go to play at Notre Dame, and every other year we're in a pro venue, and so it's always a great environment, and it's always a great opportunity for us because obviously we want to have an opportunity to play the best, one of the best teams in the country year in, year out, and it gives us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and just to bounce off of that, my final question for you is Navy is one of those programs. I feel like a lot of people can really say, there is this integrity about all of the academies as well as Notre Dame with the academic rigor and everything that they have to recruit with. So how does that affect your program? Like, how do you guys recruit over at Navy being in an academy? I know it's so much different than just about every other school in the land.
Sure. Well, obviously, Chris, the academic standards are pretty high here at the academy. And so to go out and find an athlete that fits the profile we're looking for, that has the academic requirements to get in here, and that's willing and wants to serve their country is a hard thing to find. So we've got to cast a pretty broad net in the way that we recruit, nationally. And but we take a lot of pride in the fact that, it's about more than football here, right? It's one of the best schools in the country, and opportunity to serve your country and the requirement afterwards. I think it says a lot about, our players and the commitment they make and the kind of kids they are.
Yeah, and the final question for you, how are you pumping up and inspiring your team today? It's going to be a rowdy environment. Is there anything at practice you're doing with the sound and everything to prepare for it? Because it's also a night game, which you don't see too much.
Yeah, sure. We'll have to prepare for the crowd noise, Chris, but I don't think I have to do a whole lot to get our guys pumped up. I want to make sure that we understand we're going up there to win the game, not to have a good showing or to get a pat on the back. And I think our guys feel the same way. So we're super excited about the opportunity. Have to have a great week of preparation, but we're going to go swing the bat. That's for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. And thanks, Scott. I'm going to sign off, but it was a pleasure to meet you, Coach. Good luck this Saturday.
Thanks, Chris. Good to meet you, man.
Thanks, Chris. As Chris mentioned, it is a night game. This is the first ever Navy Notre Dame game at night played in South Bend. First time ever. Wyatt Kopelman.
Hey, Coach, what do you think will be the key to take good care of the football this time around compared to last season's matchup?
Keep taking care of the football.
Yes.
Yeah, just holding on to the darn thing. Making great decisions. I thought we tried to force one on Saturday and then misread coverage on another one, and that's Blake's been really really good at making good decisions and taking care of the football. And so that's got a premium. We absolutely have to take care of the football. Last time against these guys, we turned it over 5 times, maybe 6 times. And they weren't takeaways. There were 5 of them were giveaways. So certainly it's one of those games we can't have self-inflicted wounds when it comes to turnovers, when it comes to penalties. We're gonna have to play a really, really, really clean game just to have a chance. Why?
You mentioned the running back tandem with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, but specifically with Love, he's had some very elusive runs. He had the 94-yard touchdown run against Boston College on Saturday. What are the biggest things that you're looking to see out of your defense to try and contain them?
They're both have home run capability. They can both go to the house from anywhere on the field. We're up to fit things really, really well. Our gap integrity is going to be at a premium. We're going to have to edge the football. And when it comes time to make a tackle, we got to take space, and we got to tackle with great fundamentals and technique. And we've got to freaking run to the football. The effort's got to be phenomenal. We got to swim the football, but it's gap integrity. It's having an edge to the defense. It's getting off blocks, and it's finishing tackles.
And from a larger sense, what have you noticed it's like coaching against Marcus Freeman beyond just what Notre Dame piles up offensively and what their tape shows too?
I think they play with a lot of passion. Like I said, I think he's an outstanding football coach. I love his philosophy and his messaging to his team, and the focus on the process and all the things that he talks about. And you see that in the way that they play. But I just think they're extremely well coached, across the board. I think he does a tremendous job. You combine that kind of coaching and that kind of messaging with the kind of talent and the pride to have in that program. It's a good formula.
Thank you.
You got it.
Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Coach, what does it mean to not only your players, but your staff and to you to have this challenge to play a team that, year in and year out's most likely going to be in the top 10, to be able to prepare for them for that 1-0 week and have that challenge to take them on to beat them?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why you come, to play football at Naval Academy, to play in games like this, just have that opportunity. It doesn't get much bigger than this, and so I think our players look forward to this one every year. I know that I do, and it's a great measuring stick for where we're at with our program as well when we play these guys. And so just love the opportunity to play them. And, anytime you get a chance to play, a top 10 team, a storied program like this, you just love the opportunity to do it.
What is it about this specific Notre Dame team that you've been able to game plan for since you've been at the academy, with a pair of losses, but still respected enough to be in the top 10?
I'm sorry, Scott, ask me the question again, the first part of that.
What is it about this specific Notre Dame team where they have 2 losses, but they're still a team that's respected enough of what they've shown that they're in the top 10?
Well, you look at their 2 losses, and they're one score, I think 1 point and 2 points, I think. It's a really, really good football team. It's an A&M team that's undefeated, a very, very good Miami team. We're on the road at Miami. They're obviously, those are respectable losses, if there is such a thing. And so when you take that into consideration, you look at the other games that they've won. It's one of the best football teams in the country. There's no doubt about that.
I know you're disappointed with the physicality at some points during the game in North Texas. Is this a game where the players, you coaches, preach physicality, but do they also learn a lot from the guys who have lined up against Notre Dame before to just really know how physical this game's going to be? Yeah,
we've got enough guys coming back to know how physical this game is, and you watch them on tape. If we don't play extremely physical, it's going to be a long day for us. They're, like I said earlier, they're big, they're long. Every year Notre Dame looks like an NFL team. You get on the field and you look across the way. They look the part. And yeah, it's going to be a physical game. We're going to have to be ready to go in that regard.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck Saturday night.
Thanks, Scott.
Tim Nolan.
Coach, Big game for Coleman Cawley yet again. 10 tackles total, 7 total tackles solo to lead the team. How did he continue to keep his play consistent from the week prior?
Yeah, I've been really proud of Coleman and really pleased with the way that he's playing. Truly plays our style of football. He's fast, physical, plays smart, and he's going to keep getting better, Tim. But he plays extremely hard. He's physical. He's smart. Just his second game as a starter, and he's made an impact for sure. But been really pleased with him, and he'll continue to get better.
Both Blake and Landon in their post-game responses saying that they're encouraged this team they know will flush it. What is it about this particular group that you feel so confidently that they'll turn the page and get ready to go today?
Yeah, well, it's just the leadership, the things that we talk about, in the program all the time. It's not just want to know after a win. Obviously it's got to be the same way after a loss, and it's only fair if you don't learn something from it moving forward. And so this is something that happened. We got to flush it, but we've got to get better from it moving forward. And I think our guys understand exactly where we're at, what we have to do to get better, and we'll start to attack that today. So it's a group that's always responded. Going back to January, anytime we've challenged them, I think it's a resilient group. It's a team that the guys that believe in each other, and we'll bounce back.
You also another game with 320 rushing yards on the ground. Well, you said you want to turbo those into points. To do that against a team that had a bigger front, how encouraging is that entering a matchup against another big D line from the Irish?
Yeah, I was pleased with our ability to run the football, and I think there was still some meat on the bone in that game in regards to that, as far as having correct leverage on blocks and the perimeter and some of those type things. And so, pleased with our ability to run the football. Obviously, against a team like Notre Dame, and the thing that hurt us a little bit on Saturday was some of the negative plays. Outside of the penalties, we got to stay on track. We can't be in third and long against this group. Can't allow them to pin their ears back and up front and rush the quarterback. So we got to stay on track. But it starts to be able to run the football effectively, obviously.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tim.
I'll ask one before we go around. Coach, how important is this? Is the Navy-Notre Dame series to recruiting? We're the only service academy Navy's the only service academy that plays Notre Dame every year. Opportunity to play in South Bend, NFL Stadium, sometimes in Ireland. How much do you guys use this series when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah, I think, like I said, our guys love the opportunity to play in a game like this, and that's why you come to the Naval Academy. And so to have that game on the schedule every year where you can say, this is a conference we play in, it's one of the better conferences in the country. You're going to get to play Notre Dame every year. You're going to play an Army-Navy game at the end of the year. Yeah, I think it's a great tool for recruiting.
Thank you. Wags.
Coach, talk about the challenge of moving the ball against Notre Dame. They rank very highly in rushing defense nationally. I think it's less than 100 yards per game they're giving up. Can you talk about the defense and what you see out of them defensively? I know they're always talented on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge to do anything against them, offensively. And they're like I said, they're good across the board, from a personnel standpoint, from a scheme standpoint. And like I said, it's going to be really important that we're able to establish a running game and that we're able to stay on track. And that's going to be tough. We have to execute at an extremely high level. I know Coach Cronick and those guys are going to be in the lab this week trying to figure out how we can get a numbers advantage here and there, and what we do to help our guys equalize the talent a little bit.
I think Notre Dame has scored 34 points or more in the last 6 meetings. Has it been frustrating with trying to contain them? I know, as you mentioned, they always run the ball well, and they've got talented receivers. There's a lot of weapons. I think their tight end's been an NFL prospect for as long as I've been covering Navy-Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. Anytime you're playing a talented football team like this, there's no doubt about it. And my focus is more on what we can do this year, and not too much worried about the past, other than personnel scheme stuff from the other games. But this is a unique game. It has a life of its own, and game plan is going to be a little different this time around. So, but anytime you're playing a good offense, Wags, it's challenging. It's just a team that can throw it, and they can run it. I mean, they're balanced, good players across the board, weapons all over the place. It's a big challenge.
And last for me, I obviously your easiest path to a potential college football playoff is to win the American Conference. But if it comes down to tiebreakers, a game like Notre Dame does mean something, and being ranked in the college football playoff means something. Can you kind of talk about or this game and its and how it can help your program? Obviously, beating Notre Dame would be a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, it would be huge. I'm not thinking too much about the college playoff right now. I'm thinking about, what can we do this week to put our guys in the best possible position to have a chance to beat Notre Dame, and all that stuff takes care of itself. But yeah, it certainly would be a tremendous win for our program, and for us moving forward. But Notre Dame is the only thing that we're really worried about right now, Wags.
Joe Miller.
Coach, last couple games, Marcus Blazard has gotten a couple of big plays. I know he hasn't played a ton of snaps, but over the last couple of weeks, again, is it just trying to fit him in into the right place at the right time?
Yeah, and I've been really pleased with him when he has gone in. Plays fast, he's physical. And I think the more reps that he can play and take some of the reps off Mark Anthony Parker, the better Mark Anthony Parker is going to be, and trying to get him cranked up on some special teams as well. So it's good to have Blazer back, healthy at full speed, and he's got to be able to help us.
I know he's been a little bit banged up, but I thought Ira played well again on Saturday against North Texas. And since he's been in the starting lineup, what have you seen from him the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think Ira's extremely talented, Joe, but a little inconsistent. I think he'd be the first one to tell you that. And when he's dialed in and he's locked in, he's playing 100 miles an hour. I think he's really, really good. And he's just got to get more consistent in regards to that. If he can stack those kind of reps one after another, compete his tail off, and he's as talented as we've had here at corner. He's just got to be more consistent with it.
I know there's not a ton of targets, but from the position of the wide receiver group, I don't believe they've caught a pass in the last 3 games. Do you guys need more out of that unit right now?
Yeah, we do. We do. That needs to be a threat, and those guys are some of those unselfish guys on our team, Joe, and they do a great job fighting their tail off and blocking on the perimeter. Yeah, it would be nice, if we can get those guys more involved in the offense. But got to get themselves open. Got to earn the trust of the quarterback, all those things. And I think we have the ability to do that, but certainly hadn't shown in the last 3 games. But yeah, we need those guys to step up.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Wyatt.
Hey, Coach, I know that Chris Ash, the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame, is in his first season. You mentioned how you don't want them to pin their ears back on third down and rush the quarterback. Is there anything that stands out to you that's different about Ash's approach to coaching defense compared to what Al Golden did before he left for the NFL?
Yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, I spent a lot more time today looking at their offense than I have their defense. As you dive into that Monday evenings, I know Chris Ash is an outstanding defense coordinator. He's got a great track record. He's coached in the NFL. He's DC at Texas, one of the most well-respected coordinators in the country. So I know they're going to be really, really well coached. I know they're going to be sound in what they do, and I know the two are a little different, but there's some similarities as well.
What's the biggest message you have for this team that many around the country may not give a lot of respect for outside your own locker room right now?
For our team?
Yeah.
One thing we got to worry about is the guys in that locker room, and it's always about being the best version of us. And we just haven't been able to do that for whatever reason up to this point. And then I tell you guys all the time, I think we're close. It's coming together, and hopefully, that starts to happen. It's going to have to happen moving forward. And all the things that happened to you at the beginning of the year, all those things happen for a reason. If you handle them the right way, you'd like to be peaking at this time, and we're going to have to be for the rest of the way. And so how much better can we get after a loss? Have to have a sense of urgency to get some of these things fixed and corrected. And our guys will come out today and they'll go to work because it's important to them. And the message for me is our guys work. They prepare the right way. They attack the week. They're consistent in the way that they show up. But it's got to translate to Saturdays. and that's where we've struggled the most. And so, as coaches, we've got to find a way to make sure that those things translate well onto the field on Saturdays. So that's what we're going to try our best to do this week.
And what level of leadership do you see from Blake Horvath and Landon Robinson in a week like this, where you want to see that execution, all three phases that you've emphasized all season?
Yeah, the same as it has been every other week. And I think the leadership comes into play this week for some of the younger guys that may not have played in a game like this, Wyatt, and what that means and how you handle yourself going into a game like this. So, but their leadership's been great, all year, and it'll continue to be that way.
Good luck this week.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Ash has faced Navy before. He was the co-DC at Ohio State in 2014 when Navy opened the season up against them. Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, what is it about Luke Pierce's makeup in his game where last year as a junior, he can come in and make 6 tackles against a team like a Notre Dame that sends, offensive linemen that can get up the field and big tight ends that can really go after him?
Luke's a competitor, Wyckoff. One of the most competitive guys I've been around. He's one of the toughest guys I've been around. And he plays his tail off. He fights for everything that he gets. And you're talking about a guy that's, 220 pounds and taking on offensive tackles that weigh 100 pounds more than him and just fights his tail off. And there's nobody that plays harder, on a football team or fights harder than Luke Pierce. I think that's what makes him the player is just his mindset.
And how important to his game in a game like this is the emergence of Adam Clink to give him a breather where Adam can go in and the game doesn't drop off?
Right. Yeah. Super important, Pierce plays really, really hard. So you got to be able to give him some reps off. And Clink's a guy's gotten better every week, and Clink's is a really physical football player as well. There's some things he does in the running game, a little stronger than Pierce at the point of attack, things like that. And so I think Coach Volk's done a good job of finding ways to get Clink on the field a little bit more. And obviously, we need to get Pierce some blows at times when we're in regular as well. And we don't have any issues at all putting Clink in there to do that.
See you at practice this week.
See you, Scott.
One note on Pierce, his dad is a Notre Dame grad and was a wrestler for the Irish. Tim Nolan.
Coach, for the past couple of weeks, I've been asking your coordinators, a couple of players, about why they feel so compelled to follow that 1-0 mindset that you preach. When you were first taking over this program as head coach, what were some of the things you did so that became a universal idiom throughout the entire program?
It's just simply messaging, and you ask a kid to have a 1-0 mindset. Well, you have to have the same mindset as a coach. Coach them hard. All right, you move on to the next thing. And it's a matter of messaging, talking about it, being an example of that and the way that you approach things on a daily basis. It just goes back to being the best version of yourself, being where your feet are. Here at the academy, you got to be able to compartmentalize. You got a lot of different things going on. It's not just about being at your best when you come over here. That's the same thing in the classroom, right? And so the guys have embraced that, and they practice it. And that's something that's not an easy thing to do all the time, is to turn the page and move on to the next thing. And but our guys do a fairly good job of that.
And lastly, for me, given the way that your team is prepared and the talent you have, do you almost feel like this team is due to have that game where it does put all together?
Man, I hope so, Tim. I think that this is a group that deserves to have that kind of a game. But at the end of the day, you can work your tail off, but you don't go out and execute at a high level. It doesn't matter, right? So they got to trust the process, trust the coaching, and they got to trust each other. And we're not far off. And despite the game on Saturday, I think we're a lot closer than what it may look like.
Love it. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Got a few minutes left. Does anyone have any further questions? Wise, I know you do.
Well, we found out last week that Eli Heidenreich was selected for the East-West Shrine game, and that usually is a indicator that scouts think highly of him, NFL scouts. Coach Cronick was saying last week when we talked to him that he thinks Eli has pro potential. Do you feel Eli could play in the NFL, and have scouts been inquiring about him?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think in the right system, he can certainly play in the NFL. There's no doubt in my mind. And we've had just about every NFL team, come through here this fall. I think they're all impressed with what Eli can do. So yeah, I think absolutely.
And lastly, with Clink, this was a fan asked this, and I don't know the answer, but is it possible to play him more at the other outside linebacker spot, or is his skill set and what he brings to the table only, off the edge as a Raider spot? I'm just was curious about that.
Yeah, no, when we got them both on the field at the same time, we actually both kind of Raider spots. But asking him to play the overhang out to the field, there's a lot of nuances to that, the skill set that he doesn't quite possess. Now he can run, he's explosive, and all those things, but it's something that takes a lot of work to get out there and play the variations of quarters coverage and some things that we do out there in space. So to ask him to do all that would be too much for anybody. But he's playing some defensive end, when we get in our nickel and our dime stuff. He's able to do some of the same things he does at Raider from that spot.
Anyone have anything else for Coach? Oh, go ahead.
One last thing, when you all took the delay of game penalty, you seem very angry with it. Had you been trying to call a timeout and didn't get it?
No, I did not want to use a timeout there because I knew we'd probably need it toward the end. So I was more frustrated with us not getting the playoff. We had plenty of time, and I think Blake lost track of the play clock right there. So, I considered burning the timeout, but in a game like that, when you're behind, you're going to need those timeouts later in the game. So I did not use one. So I was frustrated that we didn't get to play off in time.
Anyone have anything else for Coach? All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Coach.
We're going.